heard of the new band Huntrix, which is currently rising through all the charts? Well, here's the kicker. They're not an actual band. At least not one made up of real flesh and blood people like you and me. Hopefully. The trio looks like this. Rumi, Mira, and Zoe are the protagonists of the animated movie K-pop Demon Hunters, which is just the most ridiculously search engine optimized title ever. No worries, by the way, if you haven't seen it yet, there are no spoilers in this video. Back when I first saw the initial trailer, I was instantly reminded of KDA, the also animated girl group made up of League of Legends champs. Now that the movie is out, and not only surprisingly entertaining, but also shockingly successful, I keep coming back to the similarities between these two bands. And it made me wonder, what makes these fictional animated K-pop groups so almost addictive? KDA is one of Riot's musical projects, one of many that started this running joke that the people behind League of Legends are actually a music company that only produces games to advertise sad music. And it's a pretty understandable take, because their ventures into the music industry have been unanimously celebrated, be it hip-hop group True Damage, metal band Pentakill, or the newest one, boy group Heartsteel. All their names are terms from League of Legends, and these bands all exist in a shared universe, with KDA's rapper Akali actually also being the founder of True Damage. Just to give you an example. This whole thing honestly deserves a video of its own, but that's for some other time, because this video is all about the band that rose above the rest. KDA, which in case you didn't know is short for the in-game stats, kills, deaths, and assists. Let's take a step back though, before we properly talk about Akali, Ari, Evelynn, Kai'Sa, and sometimes Seraphine. Why does K-pop in general just work so well? The easy answer? Well, it's made to work so well. Of course, there are successful bands all over the world that started in somebody's garage or even as a fun school project. But it's not called music industry for nothing. And when insane amounts of money are at risk, then people obviously try to minimize those risks. Band members are scouted, casted, or outright trained from the ground up, which is, by the way, not something exclusive to South Korea. It's also done in America, Europe, pretty much everywhere where music is created. So, everywhere. However, K-pop is in a lot of ways the end boss when it comes to idol creation. The combination of Korean and English lyrics, pop and rap, cute and sultry, all mixed together to appeal to as many people as possible. Bands consist of many, and sometimes many people that fulfill different roles. Leader, visual, dancer, singer, rapper, etc. I guess in this regard, there are some similarities to League of Legends, where you play top, jungle, mid, bot, or support. And just like in League, fans have preferred roles or members of a group, their so-called bias. Idols fulfill fantasies. They are often presented in an almost otherworldly, inhuman way. Perfect skin, perfect body, perfect voice, perfect dance moves. Showing off the hottest fashion trends or setting them and changing hair colors at the drop of a hat. As someone that doesn't even know their own natural hair color anymore because they've had this for the better part of a decade, that part in particular always fascinates me. Like, their hairstylist must seriously be magicians or something. We nowadays talk a lot about the average attention span of people decreasing more and more. That especially the brains of younger generations crave constant stimulation. And I can't help but think that this might actually play a part in why this genre of music is doing so well. There's often a huge variety when it comes to the sheer amount of people to look at. The outfits, the dancing, the languages, the hair. It just never gets boring. So yes, K-pop is a global success story, for a reason. But KDA still surprised many when they released their first song Popstars 7 years ago. Even their own creators. It all began when they had their debut during the opening ceremony of League of Legends Worlds 2018. AR models of Ari, Akali, Evelynn, and Kai'Sa performing alongside their real-life voices. The now iconic music video hit YouTube the same day, and what a hit it was! 24 hours later, the view count had already ticked up to 5 million. Half a year later, it surpassed 200 million, and currently it sits at a cool 636 million views. It broke all kinds of records, even topped the Billboard charts, and if you wanted to dance along, you had your pick of Just Dance and Beat Saber. It was big, and probably got a lot of people to dip their toes into League. How many stuck around? Who knows, but it was enough of an impact that Riot gave the group another chance to shine. The amount of money they made selling KDA skins probably helped as well. Which shouldn't come as a surprise, because not only were the champs chosen by players as most popstar-like, they also cover a wide variety of appealing traits. Ahri, pretty and playful. Kai'Sa, the mysterious loner. Akali, cool and rebellious. And Evelynn, the seductive diva. Remember the whole K-pop role thing I mentioned earlier? This is exactly that. And Riot noticed that many fans connected with specific KDA members. So instead of adding just another group song, they each got solos. With Evelynn's Villain being a particular favorite of mine, because it has this almost hypnotic quality. We did have to wait a while for those though, because a certain virus kinda turned the whole world upside down. Does anyone else sometimes feel like, in hindsight, the pandemic years played out on double speed? Maybe it's because we pinpoint the passing of time on like big events, and most of those were cancelled back then? Anyway, Riot's plans for KDA beautifully lined up with the development of a music-based champion for League of Legends, Seraphine. And they spun this whole social media campaign around her, with Seraphine being a Chinese musician, sharing some of her own songs and fangirling over KDA, ultimately culminating in her having a guest spot on KDA's new group song, More. Once again, beautifully animated, and as much as I don't like playing as or against Akali in League, every time I watch this video, I wish helmets like hers would be allowed where I live. Her bike actually kind of looks like mine, minus the glowing wheels. The success was huge. Again, less surprising this time. A lot of money was made on skins, and that was kind of it for KDA. The craziest thing about this whole endeavor to me was always the part the Popstars music video played in the creation of a different Riot project that crossed the line of just making games. Which one? Well, have you just maybe heard of Arcane? Jokes aside though, were you aware that after the initial draft of this now hugely popular show didn't get the green light, it was actually the KDA music video for Popstars that kept the lights on at Fortiche, the French animation studio that has by now brought so many Riot projects to life? Can you imagine that we almost never got to see them develop and evolve their unique, painterly blend of 2D and 3D art? It's a crazy thought, and not one that I shall entertain further, because I'm just glad we don't live in that bleak timeline. In general, our current actual timeline is pretty nice. Well, at least when it comes to entertainment, especially if you are a K-pop fan. And even if you're not, the movie I mentioned at the beginning of this video, K-pop Demon Hunters, might just be worth a watch anyway. The animation is top-notch, as I've honestly come to expect from Sony by now, and it does a wonderful job introducing you to parts of Korean culture and mythology. Center stage, both figuratively and literally, belongs to the two bands, Huntrix and Soulja Boys, both voiced by ultra-talented people, and their songs have been ruling music charts and also my personal playlist, despite the groups not actually being real. Or maybe it's because they're not actually real. And now, finally, we're getting to the actual answer to that question I asked earlier. Why do fictional K-pop bands work so damn well? I laid out why K-pop works already, and now let's take a look at KDA and Huntrix. All the things I mentioned are there. The variety of characters to connect with, the style, the awesome dancing and singing. But I think we are so drawn to these virtual idols for two reasons in particular. One, we get all the awesomeness without any of the problems. People simping for Zoe or Kai'Sa in a very not healthy way can't send death threats to their potential partners, something that sadly does happen in real life. Huntrix can carb load all they want without worrying about their weight, without a manager far less nice than Bobby in the movie breathing down their neck. And so on and so on. The music industry in our world can be ugly. Finding or creating the perfect package of look and talent and then growing and protecting that investment is brutal business. So there's a lot of pressure on the artist. But fictional idols, they can have the cake and eat it too. And I think that makes them more appealing to people that do care about ethics and what might be morally right or wrong. The other, far less grim reason, animated bands dial all of those things that make K-pop so fun up to 1100. The shown performances often wouldn't be possible for real people. Shocking, I know. Us lowly humans, we don't have magic, demon powers, or really bendy rubber limbs. At least as far as I know. KDA and Huntrix consist of beautiful women, way too special and extraordinary to be real. I mean, Rumi has a thick Rapunzel-like braid, almost as long as she is tall. That thing would give normal people like you and me a non-stop headache. And Ari has fox ears and crystal tails, for crying out loud. The K-pop Demon Hunter directors might have intended to create girls that act like real girls and not just pristine superheroes. And in some way, yes, they succeeded. But they still dance through the air and fight with magic weapons. Real-life idols already often feel not from this world, and fictional ones do so even less. And we like that. I think it's ultimately just a different form of escapism. Life can be boring and grey, and performances full of color and fun and really good music, they make us feel something. I actually just had the thought that KDA and Huntrix might not get along very well if they would ever meet. What with one band being Demon Hunters and the other one having Evelyn on board, one of Runeterra's primordial demons. But I guess what the Hunters don't know, they can't act on, right? So, people love KDA, and Huntrix for the matter. What does that mean for the future? Vocaloids like Hatsune Miku can perform live concerts, and even KDA already had AR performances. Would you be down for more of that? Fictional idols on stage with gigantic crowds cheering for them? It sounds a bit dystopian, but also exciting. Technology has evolved quite a bit since the last time KDA hit the stage, and I would love to see how they'd look now, because as cool as those shows years ago were, they were also a little bit janky. Is it maybe time for KDA to have another comeback? It would be pretty hype to see them be the next world song, for example, or just perform as part of the opening ceremony again. Maybe in combination with Seraphine being center stage as the Chinese representation, which would be very fitting because this year's biggest league tournament will take place in China. Or how about a crossover with another K-pop group, be it a real one or another animated band like Huntrix, who in my opinion also definitely deserve some more screen time. K-pop Demon Hunters did feel a little short. Admittedly, part of me would just want that collab to happen, so maybe we'd get a Derpy-inspired ward or skin in League of Legends. Maybe for Yuumi, or how about a Volibear or Warwick that runs towards you with that huge unblinking smile? What do you think? Anything you would love to see? Or hear, I guess?